Greetings, beautiful people. This is SB Favor Thinking Podcast, and my name is SB Favor. How are you doing today? It is Tuesday, October 27th, 2020, and I just want to remind y'all, please go out and vote. There are many states open right now, several states, all states open for early voting. Please go out and vote if you have not already voted. November 3rd is the final day, so please go out and vote. We have to vote, y'all. We cannot neglect our responsibility to participate. It is our civic duty, so please vote. Rebecca is here today to co-host with me. It is Tuesday, and we are going to talk about the pros and cons of being selfish versus sacrificing in relationships. But we know that being selfish or sacrificing is different levels to that. So, Rebecca, how are you doing today?
SB, I'm doing fantastic. Blessed day. Wonderful day today. Happy to be here.
Great. So, when I thought about this topic, I was thinking, we're going to have to tell on ourselves, right?
We just might.
We're gonna have
but
to,
it's all good.
Yeah, because, I think that, it's just my opinion. I think that we all are guilty of being selfish to a certain extent, but there's different sides to being selfish. And of course, sacrificing is something I believe we all, at one point or time in our life, we all have sacrificed something, right? We, as mothers, we sacrifice things for our kids, our families, right? So
yes,
we know a little bit about that. So
that's right.
Yeah. So when you think about the word selfish, Rebecca, what comes to your mind when you think about the word selfish?
When I think about the word selfish, I think about, I deserve everything. I deserve everything, and everything should come to me first.
Mm-hmm.
I just put my needs and my desires before others.
Oh my Lord. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what selfishness is. Wow, you said it all.
Well, okay. Yeah. That's good.
That's exactly what selfishness is. When I think of, what selfishness is, I think of someone that is self-centered, someone that is arrogant, egotistic, someone that sometimes plays the victim, someone that wants the attention on them unnecessarily. That's what I think about when the word selfish. Mm-hmm. Well, how about sacrifice? What comes to your mind when you think about sacrifice?
What comes to my mind when I think about sacrifice is it's like an act that I have to make in my heart. It's like an action of surrendering.
Mm-hmm.
Surrendering something that's valuable. Something of value that I have to surrender, and kind of like as a means to gain something.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a good way of looking at it. When I think of sacrifice, I think about inconvenience. Doing something that could be an inconvenience, but yet you do it anyway just because you simply want to do it.
Yes.
I think that some people, when they give to others or when they do something for others that is kind, I think sometimes they do it with the wrong intentions. And sacrificing is just something that one would do if they are putting others before them. And yet being, of course, like I said, being inconvenienced at the same time. That's what I think about when it comes to sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I agree 100%. And it's almost too, having to make choices. What do I want immediately? Mm-hmm. Do I have an immediate desire? Mm-hmm. But is there a need for someone else? Or is there a need for perhaps, one's dream. Like if you're saving for something, or you have a dream for, let's say, a business venture, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to make choices sometimes. Okay, well, am I gonna, use my time and money on this right now, or am I gonna use it and put it every effort towards the future, towards what's forward,
Right. That's a personal sacrifice to obtain something that you want. Right, exactly. Another type of sacrifice could be to see the best in someone else. You might make a decision from that angle as well. Simply because you want someone else to be their best, you make certain types of sacrifice. So yeah, that's another type of sacrifice. I mean, think about it. Jesus died so that we could be better than what we could be, right? So that's
right.
the ultimate sacrifice.
That's the ultimate sacrifice. Yes.
Yeah. So, but the word sacrifice is something that many people don't want to even talk about, because some people, many people don't even understand the strength of it all or the power of it all. But there is a power.
It's not comfortable,
Mm-mm.
and like you said, it's not convenient.
Nope, it's not at all. It's not at all. And that's the thing, when I think about my relationship with God, I know that sacrifice is something that comes up all the time, because when we decide to do things God's way versus our own way, then that's a sacrifice too, because he gives us free will to do whatever we want to do.
Yes, he does, SB. Yes, he does.
Yeah, so it's a process though, to learn what sacrifice is, or to be that giving on a certain level for someone, or to help someone. It's a process. It's something to learn. I don't think that people just wake up and say, "Oh, well, I'm just going to sacrifice all of this or whatever."
That's right.
Yeah, it's something. Right. It's something to learn. But as a mother, we know about sacrifice, because any mom should know about sacrifice, because we get up when we're tired and we take our children to school, right? So, tell me about your side of that as a mother, when it comes to sacrifice.
Well, as a mother, I sacrificed, my everything, for my children.
Right.
For an example, I worked full time, and I knew my duties as a mother was to, make sure they did their homework when I got home, make sure I had dinner on the table, make sure I provided their needs, for their clothes, for their sports activities. Leah was in dance, the boys were in football, they were in basketball, and there were many times when, and I remember this, and I'm not saying this with no ulterior motive, but I remember a couple of family members would say, "Rebecca, how come you don't buy yourself some new clothes?" They said, you should just, buy some things that are more in style, And I remember that, like, for a minute, I would feel really bad, but then I would say, but it's not important to me.
Exactly.
It's not important to me, to have the most updated shoes or pocketbook or name brand things. Because to me, what was important was that what I had, it was used, and I sacrificed it for my 3 children. And I did that, and and of course, we spoke about last week, since the passing of my middle son, Stephen. I sit back sometimes and I say, wow, I remember those football games and those basketball games, and and I remember when there were things that I wanted to do, but he says, "Ma, could we do this instead?" Right? You sacrifice sometimes. You kind of change, you change, right? Because you care about someone. So yeah, that was that's what I sacrificed. Taking the kids to church. Waking them up early in the morning and say, hey, y'all, we gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta make it to the house of the Lord.
Right.
I can't say we went every Sunday.
Right.
But we did. But we did go.
Yeah, sacrifices. It's a beautiful thing when you sacrifice something with your heart, and that's what you described, Rebecca. You sacrifice your time, your effort, your energy, your money, whatever you could give to your kids in that order to make sure that they had whatever, or they had the best of everything, even when, like you said, going to church or whatever. Sacrifice. I sacrifice a lot for my one and only daughter. I had to drive 5 hours away from my home in New Jersey at that time when she was going to college. And I had to drive alone each time, up and back, to take her to college and to pick her up. So that was a sacrifice. It was a sacrifice because I could have allowed her to go to college nearby, right? But she said to me, she said, Mom, I want to go away. I don't want to stay home and go to college nearby because I want to go further away so I can grow. And I said, I need to let her go. So I let her, go further away. So 5 hours. I drove 5 hours up, 5 hours back. And it was not easy. Okay. That was the type of sacrifice. It hurt. Yes, because sometimes sacrifice hurt. It might, it's not convenient. And the reason why I say it hurt is because I would drive, unfortunately, sometimes, when I was tired. God protected me, yes, but I would drive, back and forth to make sure she had what she needed, to make sure she was taken care of. And, as a mom, that was my sacrifice. And another side of sacrifice is your kids, our kids, will never, ever forget it, right?
Never. That's right.
That's the beautiful part of sacrifice, is that when you sacrifice something for someone, what will happen is your future will be filled with the very thing, sometimes, that you have sacrificed. When you are kind to someone, or you give to someone, or you do something, when you do something with the right intentions, guess what? That sacrifice will come back and fill your future. Think about that. I know some people, they sacrifice things for a lot of people, and years went by, and then all of a sudden, those same people or even others came back and they just totally blessed them.
Yes. Blessings.
Yeah.
Blessings.
Right. So,
blessings.
So that's the flip. That's another side to sacrifice.
And SB, if I could say this, how about our mothers, right?
Yes.
How did our mothers sacrifice for us? Right?
Yeah.
When we talk about our school years, or we even talk about our children, their grandchildren, right, how they sacrifice for us. And, talk about blessing. Talk about blessing. So now, as our beautiful, darling mothers which are both women of God, we bless them.
Yes.
We remember their birthday. And this is important.
It's important.
This is important. Listen, it's not about the material thing. It's the thought. You remember their birthday. You remember Mother's Day. You remember their love and how they loved you and hugged you, and they were there when you cried, or they were there for you when your child was sick, or they were there for you when you needed to get, I was in music, and I played the trumpet, and I played in the choir, and I was a background singer, okay, only a background singer. And then, my mother would make sure she got me the right uniform, and I remember, and I'm 52 years old, and I think about these things, and when her time comes around, and I think, and I see her, I say, Ma, thank you. Thank you for the sacrifices. that you made for me.
Amen. That's awesome.
Yes.
And that's the way it's supposed to be. Well, what was it that you wanted to share? Because you were telling me something earlier you wanted to share. You said you had a few things that you had went over concerning sacrifice. What was it, Rebecca?
Well, there's a few things personally for me that I feel that I need to surrender.
Okay.
Right. And it's not in particularly in regards to a relationship with another person. But I feel that there's some things that I need to kind of surrender, or I need to kind of let go, so that I could gain something from it, so that I could so that a better cause can come out of it. And I was thinking about a couple of things, and I realized that, if I could kind of make some more commitments and stand by them and make a decision to say yay or nay, I believe that those sacrifices are going to pay off. Sometimes, we think that, like you said, it's a process, and I love that. No, we don't wake up kind of like, oh, I'm going to make a sacrifice today. No, It's a process. And, and if there's something that you feel you need to sacrifice, whether it's for your spiritual life or in your marriage or in your relationship with your child or with a sibling or with someone at work, I think that you shouldn't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. I think that you need to tell yourself, you know what, this is a process, and I'm going to make better choices, because like you said, SB, God gives us our own choices. He gives us a free will.
He does. Okay? He does. He really does.
Yeah, he gives us a free will. Yeah, and one thing I want to add is, all he says, offer me a sacrifice, right?
Right.
But Jesus is the ultimate sacrifice. But what he's saying is, just come to me with a broken heart and a humble spirit. If you're willing to make some changes, and you want to make some changes, and you want to sacrifice some things for the better cause, right? Whatever it is, I believe that as you allow yourself to go through the process, the blessings of the sacrifice are going to be manifested in your life.
Exactly. It is important that we understand that in order to see something good happen in our life, we have to sacrifice things, certain things, so that there can be a manifestation of the thing you want to see. And so that is exactly what Rebecca is talking about. I think that, for an example, a person that drinks alcohol, a certain amount of alcohol that's not healthy, or a certain type of food they're not supposed to be eating, if you give up that food, if you give up the amount of alcohol, or whatever it is that you may have a weakness in, if you give that up, or at least take steps to sacrifice that thing that has you weak, then you can see strength in that area. You can really, you can see the strength come to your life once you take steps to sacrifice. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, I want this body, I want muscles, and I want this and I want that," but they don't want to do what it takes to sacrifice the food they got to eat, the time they got to spend working out. That's a sacrifice.
That's so true, SB.
Right.
Yes.
So everything has a price, so to speak. It's not for free. And, sacrificing your time, sacrificing sometimes money, sacrificing whatever it is you want to happen, it's going to cost you some type of sacrifice. So that's why we're talking about this. Sacrifice is an inconvenience. That's how I see it. Sacrifice is not really a sacrifice if it don't hurt you.
That's right. That's right.
If it causes you pain, like, oh, I don't want to do this, but I got to do this, guess what? That's a sacrifice.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And Steve, I can add this in here because we're on a roll today. You know, last week I had mentioned about laying our lives down for our brother, right?
You did.
Laying our lives down for our brother. You know, what are we willing to sacrifice, right?
Right.
You know, sometimes, you know, it's easy to say, oh, I love you, right?
Right.
I love you as me. But when you have a need, am I showing you some love? And I'm talking about a serious need. When you have a serious need, am I willing to sacrifice? Am I willing to share? Or am I going to be selfish and say, well, that's her problem. That's not my problem. That's her problem.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
Well, and I'm saying sometimes I'm going to say we, sometimes we have the ability to help somebody and we don't.
And we don't.
Okay?
That's true.
So he said, offer, he says, don't just offer, your bodies as a living sacrifice, right? Don't just give up some bad stuff, you know what I mean? But how about sacrificing a love service to someone? How about being generous? How about helping someone in time of need? Even if it's with a little bit of something. And sometimes it could be financial. Sometimes it could be a plate of food. Sometimes it could be, buying them a new dress. Sometimes it could be helping out somebody's kid with a school book. You see, these are sacrifices. And I learn as I'm getting older, and I always say the same thing, and I don't think I'm ever going to change. But as I get older, I realize, right, that the main service is love service, and laying your life for your brother that's in time of need.
Yeah. Some people, what I find and observe in people is that everybody's at a different level, right? When it comes to how they live and how they do things. And so that's why, I think about the word process. Like some people don't even know how, Rebecca, they don't know how to actually, like you said, lay down your life, be kind to your brother. Some people don't even know how to do that at that level. You get what I'm saying? It takes somebody like yourself with a giving, loving spirit to show that person something one time, and then they will be forever changed.
Well, okay, that's a good point. That's a good point, SB. So let me give you an example, right? So, when my son passed away, my niece created a fund to help with the funeral expenses, right? And I was like surprised at a lot of the help that poured in, right? Okay. So and in the past, I've seen these type of funds. I'm like, yeah, right. They're gonna use that for that. I'm not giving a penny. And it's the truth. It's the truth. Listen, this is confession now, okay?
Right.
I'm not giving nobody my money. Right.
That's what you said in the past.
But man, when I see now, wow, I don't even, I don't want to go away from the topic. Listen, I don't want to go away from the topic. But,
okay.
Do you know how many people daily pass on from this world? Pass on from this life? See, sometimes you don't realize that because it never hit home. But when it hits home, you're like, wow. So you become more sensitive to that other person,
right?
And you know what it's like to have those expenses. So now, if I know it's legit, I'm like, hey, I'm giving my blessing, absolutely. So yeah, so you're right. you're right. Not everybody knows how to do that.
So you're saying
we have to. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So you're saying that prior to your son passing, you can honestly confess that you had a certain type of approach to giving because of where you were at that time. But now that you are a little bit more in touch with certain things because of the passing of your son, you understand that level of giving because you just understand what you experienced.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Somebody's mother that's very close to our family passed away today. And we all had to come together and say, well, how are we going to help this person? Fly him to where he needs to go. Right. See? And I understand. I don't know. I'm telling you, if I was a millionaire, boy, I would be blessing a lot of people. That's all I can say.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that's exactly the point of this podcast. You see, you touched on 2 points. One point you touched on where you were at the time mentally as far as being selfish. And then you went to the other part of the blessing of how others sacrifice. And that is exactly the point of this podcast. We have to learn how to be less selfish and more giving to understand what sacrifice is. Because when we take our eyes off ourselves, then we can see the need of others. And that is exactly what you were talking about, Rebecca. So thank you for sharing that. Because if we focus on the needs of others, then we understand what our part is. It's simple as that. Yes. It's that simple. I grew up in a single parent home, right? And my mother would constantly give to people, and she gave so much. I used to look at her and say, "What are you doing?" we look, we need, you should be giving that to us. Now we had, we were blessed. God blessed her, and we had whatever we needed. But me being a young kid, I didn't know no better. You know what I'm saying? I just knew that she was very, very kind. So the more I saw her do that, I said, "Wow, that's what."
God bless her heart.
Right, that's what kindness is. My mom is, she has 5 kids, but she's giving to this person and that person, the next person. And I'm seeing this as a young girl. So when I became a teenager, a young woman, I'm telling you, Rebecca, when it came to the homeless or making sure somebody was okay, if I didn't do it, I would feel like trash. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So it was almost like it was engraved into my conscience to do something. So if I wanted to be selfish, it would just come at my conscience really, really heavy. Now that does not mean that I'm just this little angel and I'm perfect. No. Don't get it twisted, because we all have some little craziness that we are working on, right? And I just got to keep it real. But the point and reason why I'm sharing that is because my mom showed me the substance of what sacrifice and kindness is. And so because of her, I saw the example. And so I know the difference now. So in times in my life where I wanted to be selfish, I had to regroup quickly and say to myself, no, that's not the way I was raised. So now I'm more conscientious of being kind or sacrificing or trying to remove myself from a situation to help somebody else. I try to do it. I'm not saying that I'm perfect at it, but I try to do it. And it's something that you practice over time, and then you become that much more sensitive to the needs of others.
Yes.
You know, I think that people are selfish because somebody didn't show them how to be kind, or somebody didn't show them the blessing of sacrifice. Somebody didn't show them that, so they don't know, they don't understand. So that's why I said it's something you learn. It's a process, but it's a beautiful thing when you actually do it and you connect with someone and receive the blessings of it. And now I'm not talking about money and material things. I'm talking about the virtue of it. There's a virtue that comes with
the virtue. Go on, yes.
There's a virtue that comes with giving and being a blessing to someone. But I'm glad you shared that, because that was perfect.
Yes, and it's interesting, SB, that we have some similarities. In our young childhood, I remember, I remember many times. I lived in Brooklyn, New York, and back then in the late 70s and 80s, it was a totally different world. You would accept a lollipop, from the neighbor who was walking down the street buying a newspaper, or back then we used to go to teachers' houses and have a soda with them. Now times are so different,
right.
But I do very well remember helping others and bringing them into my house and asking my mother, can I give them my clothes?
Oh,
can,
wow.
can we let them bathe here? Can I give them my clothes?
Right.
Can I brush their hair? And my mother would say, oh, my God, Rebecca, you're crazy. And then she would say, okay. She would say, okay. She would say, okay.
Right.
And listen, these were people that were not of the same religious belief. I tell you right now, because these girls, listen to the humbleness of how we are when we are young. These girls were Lebanese. I'll never ever forget them. And do you know what they gave me as a gift for what I gave them, which was from my heart? They gave me the Quran.
Wow.
And of course I'm a youngster. All I know is this is different. But hey, I took it and I said, thank you. Thank you. And I think I had that all the way up to probably 10 years ago, and I don't know where it went. But the point is that, I don't know, being charitable, being sacrificial, it has no color. It has no race. It has no gender. It has no class, financial class. I mean, this is something that, it's an act of your heart.
It is.
And it's a matter of the heart. And we talked about last week putting on courage.
That's right.
And today is basically putting on sacrifice, because at the end, God is the one that's going to bless you. He's the one that's going to multiply. And yes, it's all about the virtue. Yes. But hey, He will bless your bread and water. Yes, He will. And He will bless you and remove sickness from your midst. And I know that sickness comes and death will come to all of us. I know that. But there are many blessings from the Lord, for just being sacrificial. Yes.
Yeah, people just need to understand that being your best self is always allowing yourself to learn, and most importantly, according to this podcast, to learn about the power of giving and sacrificing and being less selfish. It's easy to be selfish. Another part of being selfish is not necessarily a bad part. I was thinking about this earlier, Rebecca. There's a type of selfishness that is self-care. Now, that type of selfishness is not a bad side of being selfish, because when you are in a position where you have to make a decision when it comes to self-care, you have to be selfish. You have to be selfish because you can't put yourself in environments or places or whatever to just not take care of you.
Absolutely.
So that's a type of selfishness that is healthy. Now this is
healthy.
Yes,
yes, it is.
Yeah, so this is just my opinion. I mean, so that being selfish from that level is good because you have to take care of yourself. You have to know when to say no. You have to know what is best for you. You have to know how to take care of you. Because if you don't take care of you, who else is going to take care of you? So you have to be selfish from that angle. Okay?
That's right. I love that, SB. And taking care of yourself is like you said earlier. You eat healthy, and you get your rest.
That's right.
Sometimes we can't be out and about helping everybody or going to every function just to please somebody. Sometimes you have to say, I need to get my rest. And good hygiene. Listen, you gotta have good hygiene, ladies. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to take care of our hair, take care of our body, take care of how we take care of our skin. That's important. Listen, being a mother of 3 kids and working hard, what? I don't know what it was to have a facial. I don't know what it was like to buy, an expensive face cream. And not that you need an expensive face cream, but what I'm saying is, and not for just the women, the men too. Mm-hmm. We got to take care of our health. We got to take care of our body. And sometimes, if we need to be a little alone time to do that,
that's right.
As long as you do these things where you are not purposely neglecting your children or your mother and your family, mm-hmm. Okay? We're not talking about neglecting others. We're not talking about that.
Right.
SB's talking about take care of you. Self-care.
Self-care
take care of you. Love yourself. Mm-hmm. Take care of you.
It's a balance. Yes. It's a balance.
I love that.
Everything has to have a balance. So self-care, that's a healthy selfishness. Self-care, which is a balance. A balance to everything else that you have to be responsible for. But sacrifice goes along with kindness. Selfish can go along with, like I said earlier, being self-centered, egotistic, arrogant. But the flip side of being selfish also can be self-care. So, but it's different levels to all of what we are talking about. And everything is for our learning in order to understand what we must appropriate in different situations. And like I said, being selfish, understand where you are. When it's time to sacrifice, understand where you are. Understand what you need to do and why you are doing it. Being kind is a blessing. You can never go wrong. And if you do have to sacrifice something for someone, just know that it will never be in vain, especially if you're doing it for the right intentions. Some people that give or sacrifice for others, if they are doing it for the wrong intentions, so in that type of situation, guess what? It's not good. Because you can't reap the benefits from something if you have the wrong intentions. So check yourself. But like I said, we decided to discuss this topic because we thought it was a good topic. We all are positioning ourselves to grow, right? And we all are working on ourselves. So that's why we are discussing the pros and cons of being selfish versus sacrificing. So, Rebecca, let me ask you this one last question.
Yes.
Have you ever sacrificed something for a romantic relationship?
Well, ask the question again, because I think I'm kind of glad you brought that up, because I was going to say something. What did you ask?
Oh, you trying to act like you don't hear me. Have you ever sacrificed something for a romantic relationship?
Oh, yes. Well, you know what? Listen, that's another thing I'm gonna touch.
Okay.
And boy, that could be a whole different. We need hours for that.
Oh,
but you
Lord.
know, yes. Listen, I have sacrificed things, people, for relationships. Mm-hmm. That was not good for me.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I had see, because we need to be careful. Mm-hmm. You know, and this is, I learned this not recent, maybe about a year or two ago. Mm-hmm. That, see, just because someone tells you what they want from you, or they tell you what they want to give you, or they tell you what they would like to have in the future, okay? That does not mean that just because it sounds good, that doesn't mean that you need to stop and say, okay, I'm going to run with it. You don't have to do that. Right. Because, it's the same way learning how to sacrifice is a process. Relationships are a process also.
That's right.
And you need to make sure that what you sacrifice in the name of love is worth it. Is God's will for your life, and also is not going to have some negative comebacks for your children. Okay, because a lot of people nowadays have been married or divorced or single parents and have children. The majority, many people probably listening to this podcast, and it's very important that we don't put no man or woman before our children. And I will say this on live, Radio Land. Mm-hmm. I know what it's like to do that. Mm-hmm. I've seen the negative impact and results. And let me tell you something. I paid the price for it with tears. So, yes, I have made sacrifices, but those were selfish sacrifices.
Yeah, there is a difference. There's a difference. We're supposed to make sacrifices for people in romantic relationships with the right intentions. When a person, like I said earlier, when a person has the wrong intentions, it's no longer a sacrifice. Or if a person makes a sacrifice, like you said, if somebody tells you something and is all not good, you don't make decisions when it's not appropriate. But how do you know if it's not appropriate? But we don't want to get off topic. The whole point of the question was to get your point of view on, have you ever made a sacrifice for a relationship? And I think that we all have made different types of sacrifices for relationships. But I think that if you make a sacrifice for someone, if it's with the right intention, God will still reward you.
Yes,
the problem is that when a person makes a sacrifice for someone and they have the wrong intentions and they have the wrong motives in their heart, guess what? There's no benefit from that. There is no benefit from that at all. It will fall to the ground and die.
It will fall to the ground. Yes, it will.
That seed will not bear fruit at all because the intentions are wrong. But I don't want to get too deep into that because I can get into a whole nother place, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that.
But yes.
But I just wanted to ask you that, I've made some sacrifices for relationships, and you know what? Like I said, I had to examine myself at the time when I made the decisions to make those sacrifices. And when I made those sacrifices, I had the right intentions. And because I had the right intentions, I reaped the benefit from it. Mm-hmm. Regardless of what the other person's position was, I reaped the benefits from the sacrifice because I had the right motives. Right. So, yeah. But this topic is it's a good topic, and it has so many layers to it. Because sacrifice, yes. Sacrifice and being selfish is, like I said, it has levels of learning what the differences are and how to do it, and having the right intentions, and it just has so much to it. But we're not going to dig all into that. We don't have time for that. But we will discuss it another time, maybe in the future. But it's a lot to that. It really, really is. But the whole point of discussing it is to understand the difference, to understand the virtues of sacrificing, the different types of sacrificing. What is selfishness? What's a good part of being selfish? What are the bad parts of being selfish? And what is selfish? What is selfishness? So we talked about all that. So listeners, I thank you for taking the time to listen to SB Favor Thinking podcast. Rebecca, do you have anything else you want to share?
No, this is a wonderful topic, and I enjoy so much just discussing all this. And sacrifice ultimately is a matter of the heart.
It is
a matter of the heart.
Yes.
So if we stop for a minute,
mm-hmm.
and we kind of search our heart and search it real good,
mm-hmm.
we will make some good choices, and we will know how to make better sacrifices. And
That's
remember,
right.
God will always bless us and multiply our needs, and we just have to think positive and know that it's okay to make some good sacrifices. Just know the difference.
Know the difference. And like Rebecca said, it is the matter of the heart. Examine and judge yourself, and know who you are giving to, and be your best self. Be your best self. Nobody is perfect, but you can work on yourself. Know the difference. What's good, what's evil, and just work on yourself more than anything. That is the purpose of this podcast, is to motivate you to be a better you. So on that note, if you need to reach me, you can reach me at sbfavor@yahoo.com via email. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at sbfavor. I also have a YouTube channel. You can find me at sbfavor. Please click like, subscribe to my channel, and you will not miss an episode of SB Favor Thinking Podcast. Please also make sure that you donate to charities that represent breast cancer awareness. This is the last week of October, and October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We must not forget that. So, ladies, make sure that we do our examinations, and make sure that we donate, if we can donate to charities that represent breast cancer awareness. I have to throw that out there. So once again, thank you so much for listening to SB Favor Thinking Podcast. Please have a great rest of the week, and make sure you vote. Next week, November 3rd, is the last day. Make sure you vote. Please be a part of the process. Please. It's too much going on in this country not to. So you have a good day.